G'day guys, Luke from Tackle West here. We get a lot of customers coming to the store wanting to get set up for jigging, for demersals, so Dhufish, snapper, baldchin, all those kind of fish. They really want to get themselves set up properly with the right outfits, right rods, right lines, lures, all that stuff. So we figured we'd make a little video today. We'll run through some of the right reels that you should be looking at, some of the right rods, what we've got on offer in store, and the lines. We'll go a little bit into the lures. I probably won't go too technical into it, but we can have a look at a couple of different options. It's going to be great for beginners. So we've got a number of reels here from Daiwa. We sell a lot of Daiwa products. They make some really good reels. They also make some great rods, line, all that stuff, but they really have a lot of options for different budgets depending on what you want to spend. You know, they've got reels from $200 all the way up to $1,000, spinning reels, overheads. There's pretty much something there for everyone. So we'll dive straight in. We'll have a look at a couple of these reels. Alright, so we're going to have a look at some of the reels from Daiwa. They make a great range of reels depending on what you want to spend, but they've generally got something that will cover most budgets. From all the way down to the BG reels, they're $199, all the way up to the Saltiga reels. They really do cater for a lot of budgets in reels. You know, you $200, $350, $450, $500, $700, $1,000. There is a lot of options. Now, whether you pick a spin reel or an overhead reel, that's personal preference. For me, I prefer to use spin gear. I just find when you actually do hook a big fish, it's a little bit easier to get control of that fish quickly. I just find every time that I use an overhead, I can't gain line quite as quickly. I can't put that initial power of the drag straight onto the fish. I just find personally for me, every time I hook a big fish with an overhead, I always seem to get busted off. I can never get control as quickly as I can with spin gear. Like I said, there's a lot of options in reels. It really does come down to how much you want to spend. One recommendation I will give you with a spin reel though is getting the correct size. You don't want to get a reel that's too big and you don't want to get a reel that's too small. With Daiwa, the size that I find for light jigging is a 4000. It's perfect. It holds 300 meters of PE3, which is roughly 30-pound line. They're not too big, they're not too small. Generally, a lot of the 4000 size reels come with about 10 kilos of drag, so it's more than ample drag for stopping fish. But they're just really, it's a good size. It's perfect for jigging. One thing, if you go into a reel that's too big, when you actually jig, you need to be able to do one revolution of the handle. So you jig up and you wind down. So with a bigger reel, because the handle's longer and the ratio is different, it will actually be harder. You can't get that full revolution of a handle when you're regaining the line on the drop. So it almost makes the action a little bit awkward. So with a 4000, you jig, and it's easy to do one revolution of the handle. If the reel's too small, you can do it with a 3000, but if the reel's too small, it just makes the action uncomfortable. It's not fluent. So that's one thing. Make sure you get the correct size reel. Whether you go spin or overhead, like I said, it's personal preference. I much prefer spin reels. The fat at the moment is overhead, but either way you go, there's something there in Daiwa's range that's going to cater for you. Right, so once you've chosen your reel, it's time to choose your rod. There's heaps of rods available on the market, but don't overcomplicate it. Just buy something that's suited for your reel, so it matches your reel perfectly. Within the recommended jig weights of what you're going to be using, roughly I use 100 to 200 grams, so you want a rod between that kind of weight. And then your line class. So generally I fish PE2 to PE3 lines. So find a rod that's suitable for that breaking strain. As far as picking an actual rod, there's heaps of brands to choose from. You don't have to spend that much to get into something pretty good quality. One of the most popular rods that we sell is one of these Storm Gamokus. They're $249. They're probably by far the most popular rod that we sell. But there's heaps of options, you know, starting from $150 all the way up to $1,000. It's really just finding something that's suited to your budget. It's going to suit your reel and your line ratings and your jig ratings, and then going with that. Okay, now you got to choose your braid. There's heaps of braids to choose from on the market. I'd recommend just buy a good quality braid. You don't have to spend too much, but just make sure you buy a good quality line. You generally want an 8-ply braid, so it's nice and smooth, and you want a line that's multicolored, so they change every 10 meters. It gives you a good idea of when you're actually jigging, you know where your lure is at all times. Another thing with braided line, don't buy a line that's too thick. You want to buy a line that's thin but still got a reasonable breaking strain. If you buy a line that's too thick, you'll get a lot more water drag, and you'll generally have to fish with a heavier lure. Now, with my line, I tend to fish a PE2 to PE3 braid. So a couple of options to look at. This is what we sell in the store. I've used all of these lines. They're really good quality, and that's why we sell them. So the Major Craft is a good one. Daiwa J braid, it's one of the most popular ones we sell. Another good one, the Nomad Pandora. And if you want the best, buy the Varavas. This is it's a premium line. That's what I use. It's got a really high breaking strain for how thick it is. But any of those three, if you go with any of them, you're getting a good quality line. This is where it will get really confusing, but generally what I recommend with for people that are just starting out lure fishing, it's probably best to start off with soft plastics. They're really easy to work. You don't need to do too much to them. Because they're soft and they're always moving, they do half of the job for you. When you pick a jig's a little bit more direct. You constantly got to be moving the jig. You still got to have a pause throughout your technique, but you're always in direct contact. When you're fishing with a soft plastic, you really don't need to move it quite as much. As far as picking a jig out, don't overcomplicate it. Get them multiple different weights. So, you know, you're generally going to be fishing with jigs between 100 to 200 grams. So I'd get some 100s, I'd get some 120s, some 150s, 180s, just mix it up. And try a variety of styles, you know, try some short fat styles, try some longer styles. There's other ones that are going to flutter a little bit more. You really just want to get variety in your bag to choose from, because depending on the conditions, you might need to fish with a lure that's heavier or lighter. As far as jig heads go, these Vex Dew bombs and Dew heads are by far the most popular out of everything that we sell. Same thing, just you really need a little bit of variety in your box. 100 grams, 150, 200 grams, they're generally the size that most people use. There's heaps of plastics to choose from. A real popular one for us at the moment is by far these Hunt Cackers. Now it's a little crayfish. This thing here, it's been catching heaps of Dhufish, snapper, baldies. Guys are catching a lot of fish on these. They've been really good. Really simple, they're stretchy as well. So they're super easy to use. Paddle tails, it's another one. You don't really have to work a paddle tail too much because it's always got action in it. 6-inch paddle tail, they're really good. The Z-Mans in the streaks, it's another really popular lure. Don't overcomplicate it. Just get a handful of different ones, try different colors. We sell a lot more glow than anything else, but to be honest, I think that the fish, they eat anything. Like, as long as you can put the lure in front of the fish, that's the most critical thing, not the color. Anyway, there's heaps to choose from. Come in store, we can run you through a handful of different ones and choose a variety for you and get you out there. Okay, I'm not going to go into too much technical details on how to rig all the lures up, because there's too many different options on how to do it. Pop in store if you want to learn a little bit more on how to rig each particular lure and how we like to do it. We can run through it with you. In these next couple of videos, I'm going to show you how we actually work the lures. The biggest thing is just don't overcomplicate it. Make sure you work your lures slow. A lot of people, when they use some of these lures, they work them too much, but you'll see in these next couple of videos, so check them out.